and blood. All ready to go. Barron in goal to our left for the United States. And in goal to our right, Lauren Malcolm from the faceoff. All Stars have it. Ryan Tutt wheels on left wing at center. He sends it skimming in behind the Olympic team's goal. Handled by Hirsch. Around the boards on right wing. For Chelios, chased him beyond the goal by Davies. He left it right there. Knocked down right in front by Schreiber. To the crease for Davies. Knocked away by Hirsch on left wing. At center, old check over the wing line. I should say over the Olympic IHL team line in the top side. No further play. We played 22 seconds opening period. And we're scoreless from Wing Stadium, Kalamazoo. A quick change from both benches. Bill Inglis of the IHL All-Stars and Lou Barrow of the U.S. Olympic team. All ready to go from the face-off. Fired in behind the goal by Rezenzov. Dug out at the backboards by Iafredi for the U.S. Up on left wing. At center's over Corey Millen. He stroked it in behind the All-Stars goal. Digging it out diligently, Steve Harrison from Peoria. His pass up to the blue line. Blocked right point by Fusco. Right in front and was swept away. Beautiful. To center zone by Moore. Ahead over the line for Rezenza. Left wing circle. Backhander. Deflected in beyond the goal. Dug out by Sampson. Now Sampson in the middle. At center for Verkota. He reaches the IHL All-Star line. Poked off his stick into the U.S. zone by Gruel. Covering up in front of the goal is Brook. Brooks pass stopped at center by Gruel on left wing. Over the line for Yakachuk. All on the boards. Working on Brook, who gave him a rough right in the corner. Back comes the U.S. Fusco, Rinkwad on left wing. At center, over the line for Paul Gay. Left wing circle. He was checked in front by LaCour. Back come the Stars. Yakachuk's pass. Knocked down by Bukestad. Drove it in beyond the goal. Malakin is there. Around the boards on left wing for Yakachuk. Yakachuk at his own line for LaCour. At center for Yakachuk, 2-on-1. Over the U.S. line. Big River press and shot. Oh, what a save by Barron as he speared it and holds. No further play. Played a minute 45. Opening period. Scoreless from Wing Stadium, Kalamazoo. The 18th IHL All-Star game featuring the IHL All-Stars and the U.S. Olympic team. Faceoff will be left of Mark Barron. U.S. goal. All ready to go for the faceoff. It'll be Griffith and Fiore. Won by Griffith. Fiore was spilled along the boards by Kumpel, and back comes the U.S. team. At center, the pass for Harrington, blocked at the line by Tutt, clear to center. Played all the way back into the U.S. zone by a backpedaling Chris Chelios. In the middle, at center for Thomas. He zooms in over the line. Left wing boards for Harrington. Cracked right there by Willison, and back they come. IHL at center, go ahead, shoots right on. Come on by Barron. Dropped in behind the goal by Hirsch. He was checked neatly by Aurelio, but trailing is Chelios on left wing. Lugging it to center. Over the IHL All-Star line. Drummed along the boards by Aurelio and Morin. Skids into the corner. Dug out by Tutt. Stopped by Olchek. They jostle for it vigorously and lock it up. No further play. 17:25 left. Opening period. Scoreless from Wing Stadium, Kalamazoo. Faceoff will proceed deep in the IHL All-Star zone to the right of goaltender Lauren Malakin. And for the IHL All-Stars, it'll be Rob Davies and Pat LaFontaine for the U.S. Olympic team. Sticks come down. Won by LaFontaine. He brought it right in front. Only paying down the shot as he was checked neatly by Moore, and back comes the IHL. Schreiber left wing at center for Falkenberg. He was checked neatly by Fusco. Puck skids into the corner behind the U.S. goal. Davies dug it up, right in front, back in, he scored! Rob Davies! IHL leads 1-0. Goal. Purloined the puck from the defense, bolted in front in a breezing fashion, and tucked home a sleek streamlined backhander at 2:52. Rob Davies from the host team, Kalamazoo Wings. IHL leads 1-0. From the faceoff, center zone, Gruel on left wing. drifted into U.S. territory. Chased in behind the goal by Fusco. Fusco jammed lustily in the corner by Resenza. Dug out by McGinnis in the corner. Centered for Grew. Left wing circle. Left wing for Wilson. Right in front for Grew. Shot! What a save by Barron. Rebound right wing boards. Dug out by Olczyk. He delivered it behind the goal. On the defense. The puck into the corner. Dug out by Fusco. Fusco up on right wing for Olczyk. Checked by Grew. Left point for Wilson. Shot! Right out! What a save by Barron in a force of legs on a screen. Puck into the corner. They jostle forward in a mighty move. Continuing to jostle forward. Taking it out as Crowley centered it right in front of McGinnis to the doorstep where it stands up. Swept away neatly by Iafredi. Now Iafredi rink wide on the right defense for Mark Fusco. At the U.S. line on right wing. His pass blocked at center by Williston. Williston in the middle at center zone. Storms over the U.S. line. Right wing circle. Shot! Blocked down the defense by Fusco. Contained at the blue line by LaCour. Right wing boards for Yakachuk. Centered it right in front for LaCour. Checked by Fusco, but LaCour dug it out beyond the goal, working feverishly. He poked it into the corner for Preston. Preston was jostled along the boards by Gay, and they clear into the IHL zone, covering up his Tutt. Brian Tutt on the left wing at center for Daniel LaCour. He stroked it in behind the U.S. goal, tracked down by Bob Brook. Now Brook from behind his own goal to organize LaCour in deep for checking his long lead aimlessly to an open wing. That was meant for Gary Sampson, too far down ice. Reached behind the IHL All-Star goal by Mike Bolden. U.S. charged with icing break in the action. IHL All-Stars 1, U.S. Olympic team nothing. This is All-Star Hockey. At the right point, Morin closes right wing circle. Fired to the crease, Fiore scores! Tony Fiore! IHL leads 2-0. Tony Fiore on the deflection, and the IHL All-Stars lead suddenly 2-0. Tony Fiore on the deflection at the doorstep, and it's a 2-0 IHL lead. And those two goals in the span of a minute and 48 seconds. It was Davies from Schreiber at 2:52. Tony Fiore from the Flint Generals connecting. 2-0 IHL All-Stars. Sudden turn of events. Back comes the All-Stars again behind the goal. Steve Harrison lassos it. Leading on right wing for Neil Aurelio in the middle at center for Fiore. Over the U.S. slot on left wing for a hard-charging Bernie Gallant. Knocked back to center zone by Fusco. Control by Fiore. Over the line for Aurelio. Right wing circle. Shot deflected in the corner by Tom Hirsch. Dug out right wing boards by Fusco. Leading for Bukestad at center. Now Bukestad had a dance off his stick, and Steve Harrison on the left wing drove it right back behind the goal with the All-Stars. Dug out in the corner by Chelios. Thumped by Aurelio, but he delivered it side of the goal for Hirsch, left side. At his own line for Fusco. Scott Fusco motors to center. Hits the IHL All-Star line. Spilled in front by McGowan. Covering up behind the goal for the IHL is Willison, leading sharply to his own line for Bernie Gallant. Accelerating into the straightaway at center. He hits the U.S. slot, and offside on right wing was Neil Aurelio from Muskegon. No further play. 14:27 left, first period. And the IHL All-Stars have seized a 2-0 lead. Davies from Schreiber, 2:52. Fiore on the deflection of Vic Morin's shot that emanated from the top of the right wing circle at 4:40. Two of the IHL All-Stars centermen, the marksman. All ready to go from face-off, center zone left wing. Kevin Williston fired it high off the backboards. It lands on the back of the net. Being defended by Mark Barron from the University of Wisconsin for the U.S. team. No further play. And the face-off will emanate outside the U.S. line on left wing right below us, which of course is the IHL All-Stars left wing. Davies in the face-off, and he'll oppose Tim Thomas. Thomas won it in the defensive zone on the left defense. Iafredi on right wing at center for Harrington. Checked as he reached the IHL line by Falkenberg. Controlled on the defense. On the left side by Willison, up on right wing at center for Scott McGowan. Over the line on left wing for Dave Falkenberg, and that's offset at the U.S. Olympic line. No further play. 14:04 left, first period. It's IHL All-Stars 2, U.S. Olympic team nothing. Say, now showing at Video Innovations, the Wings winning goal, and you may be the star in the lead role. Now, to find out more about your starring role in the Wings winning goal, you just have to stop at Video Innovations, Stadium Drive, Kalamazoo. Tell them the Fix sent you. From the face-out, Kevin Willison on left wing at center zone, lashed it in behind the U.S. goal, but it was offside for the IHL All-Stars. No further play. 13:57 remaining, opening period. IHL All-Stars have really stung this highly vaunted and touted U.S. Olympic team. 2-0. It'll be Davies for the U.S. or for the IHL All-Stars and Tim Thomas for the U.S. Olympic team on the face-off. Sticks come down. Won by Davies, collected left wing boards by Kevin Willison, right in front of the U.S. bench. He drifted into U.S. territory. Ifredi right in front of the goal, barely escaped the check of Davies. He motors up the left side of center. Over the line for Harrington, through the defense, in alone with a shot. Oh, Bobbitt can close the door. Puck in behind the goal. Trapped at the back boards by Willison. Leading off the left wing boards for Falkenberg at his own line in the middle center for Davies. Over the line, left wing, second for Falkenberg, centered for Davies in front. Blocked by Harrington, who peeled back. Now U.S. underway. Harrington at his own line for Fusco. In the middle center for Tim Thomas. Over the IHL line for Fusco. He whirls left wing boards. Delivered it into the corner for Thomas. Wrapped up assertively by Falkenberg and cleared down ice by Scott McGowan. Racing back to reach it for the U.S. Olympic team, Mark Fusco. IHL All-Stars charged with icing, break in the action. IHL All-Stars 2, U.S. Olympic team nothing. This is All-Star Hockey. The face-off. Now in the Olympic team zone, Brook almost lost it in front of McGinnis, but he was spilled by Jensen, who peeled back. Dug out behind the goal by Bob Brook, the former Yale University standout. Breakaway pass at center by Fontaine. Broken up by Todd. His pass stopped at center by Jensen. He zooms in over the IHL All-Star line. Centering pass. That was blocked by Todd on a sleek recovery. He just rolls it gently all the way back behind the U.S. team's goal. Tracked down there by Bob Brook on the right defense. Now Brook in a leisurely-like fashion, leading on left wing for Olchek. Now Olchek at center, motors in over the IHL line. Right in front for LaFontaine, shot, score! Pat LaFontaine! It's a 2-1 IHL All-Star lead. LaFontaine has just scored his 51st goal in 54 games for the IHL All-Star defense, parted as if the Red Sea. And Pat LaFontaine just negotiated it flawlessly as he slipped in behind the defense. He was wide open in front. He deked Mulligan from the crease and deposited home a very slick velvet backhander. LaFontaine's 51st goal. It's a 2-1, shrinking IHL All-Star lead. From the face-off, Chelios at his own line on the right defense. At center for Griffith. Over the line, left wing circle. Right in front for that score! And the U.S. is tied at 10-2. Sampson converts. It's a 2-goal U.S. blitz in 20 seconds, and the IHL's 2-0 lead has quickly evaporated. It's a 2-0 tie, and how that U.S. team negotiates. In the face of LaCour at center, oh, the U.S. line. He was Priakachuk thumped on the defense by Hershey from the right wing boards. It's fired down ice by the goalgetter Sampson, reached beyond the goal by Steve Harrison. Icing charge against the U.S. Olympic team. It was Pat LaFontaine's 51st from Ed Olchek. Boy, Olchek just lasered a pinpoint pass to LaFontaine, who had broken behind the defense. Jensen, the second assist, and then it was Sampson's 21st from Chelios. 20 seconds later, at 7:56, second assist to Griffith. It's a 2-all tie. Face-off right of Barron. Yakachuk won it, but the puck skidded between the point men Harrison and Moore into center. Harrison recaptures it there on left wing, drove it in behind the goal. Barron himself controls it at his own line. That centers over Gay, over the line for Bukestad. He wheels it on the boards. Checked by Harrison, look out by Bolin, clear the blue line. Blocked at the left point. The shot right down by Frady. Puck on the boards to the right point. Fusco shot knocked down in front by Moore and dug out in the corner by Harrison. Jostled along the boards by Brook. Back to the right point for Fusco. His shot deflected into the corner by Yakachuk, who had Fusco wrapped up. On the boards, Morin cracked down the U.S. player on the boards. And there will be a penalty coming up. The first of the game, and Vic Morin will be the culprit at 8:51. And the U.S. Olympic team, after a rather sluggish start, regaining its stride as they begin to really dominate this hockey game. It was LaFontaine's 51st from Olchek and Jensen at 7:36. Sampson's 21st from Chelios and Griffith at 7:56. Two-goal thunderbolt in 20 seconds to erase the 2-0 deficit. Face-off right of Mulliken. All-star goal. Davies opposing LaFontaine, who won it. Now LaFontaine, left point for Hirsch. Right in front for LaFontaine, shot him, he fired it wide. Puck in behind the goal, and Kevin Willison rifles it down ice. Hurrying to retrieve behind the goal is Chelios. Boy, that U.S. team just manipulates the puck brilliantly. Now Chelios leading on left wing at center for Tom Hirsch in full flight. He ramps to the IHL line, launched it in behind the goal. Olchek spilled Willison on top of the puck at the backboards. No further play. And the face-off will occur deep in IHL territory to the right of goaltender Lauren Mulliken. Boy, moments ago, it was Hirsch, Jensen, Olchek, and LaFontaine, and they were, boy, did they manipulate that puck along the boards. And in front of the goal, crisply and briskly, only LaFontaine rifled one. He blistered it wide of the yawning cage. Face-off right of Mulliken, IHL goal. LaFontaine and Davies, the principal. Sticks come down. Won by Davies. Powered it into the corner for Poland. Thump by LaFontaine. Dug out behind the goal by Olchek. Centered it, left wing circle. Hirsch fired, kicked out by Mulliken. Rebound in the crease. And Mulliken covers it. No further play as Jensen is drummed to the ice by Fort Wayne's Mike Bolin for the IHL, as Bolin was protecting the dignity and sanctity of his goal crease perimeter. The two IHL coaches, Bill Inglis from Toledo, J.P. LeBlanc from Kalamazoo. Inglis is operating with the forwards tonight. J.P. is working with the defensemen. He makes the defensive changes. Inglis makes the forward changes. Face-off right of Mulliken, IHL goal. LaFontaine opposing Bernie Gallant now. All ready to go. Sticks come down. One by Gallant. Right in front of the goal. Tutt leaves it right side of the goal over Mike Bolin. Now Bowman wheels to the right wing board. Checked by LaFontaine, but in a second effort, he cleared the zone all the way into U.S. territory. Covering in front of the goal, Chris Chelios. On right wing roll, check in the middle of center of LaFontaine. He darts it over the IHL line, wheels in front of McGowan. Checked him. Covering up his Tutt. Tutt's pass, blocked to the blue line by Olchek. Delivered it into the right wing corner for Scott McGowan. Rockets it off the right wing boards, down ice for the IHL. 50 seconds for the power play. Barron in his own crease, swept it away from the onrushing Neil Heriliu. For Hirsch on right wing, it's over LaFontaine. He breezes in over the IHL line. Drove it around the back boards to the blue line for Hirsch. Left point for Olchek. Left wing boards for LaFontaine. Now Pat LaFontaine wheels in the circle. Side over Olchek. Swooped in behind the goal. Centered it. Right point for Chelios. Right side of the goal for Olchek. Centered it. Right in front. Oh, Heriliu was there to block it. Now Heriliu in the middle of center for Bernie Gallant. Broken up by Jensen. He zooms in over the IHL line as he was drummed to the ice by McGowan. Right point for Chelios. Back for Jensen. Is back on the ice. Back to the left point for Hirsch. He didn't anticipate it. He was pouring in and he loses him to center. Gobbled up by Chelios. He zooms in over the IHL line. Drove it in behind the goal. Mulliken comes out, barricades for McGowan. Around the boards on right wing for Preston. Penalty is over to Moore as Preston feeds Yakachuk on right wing. Over the U.S. line for Danielle Corey. Wheels right in front with a shot. That was knocked down on the defense by Fusco. as LaCour was spilled on the defense by Iafredi. Covering up behind the goal is Thomas passed it on the board, stopped by Preston. Preston wheels in behind the goal for Yakachuk. Back to the right point for Willison. He holds it in. His pass on the boards. Iafredi broke that up. Now Iafredi wheels it center. He was dumped to the ice by Kevin Willison. And there'll be another IHL All-Star penalty. Kevin Willison, 2 minutes, tripping 11-20. Break in the action. IHL All-Stars 2. U.S. Olympic Team 2. This is All-Star Hockey.
IHL penalty number 44, Kevin Willison. 2 minutes for tripping at 11:20.
Right in front to the crease for a tumbling Cornmiller, knocked away by Davies. Contained left point by Brook. Right point for Fusco. Now Fusco fired right to the crease, but oh, the deflection. Right on. Great save, Mulligan. Rebound left wing boards for Scott Fusco. Back to the left point for Brook. Checked by Davies. Davies pokes it over the blue line to center zone. He was almost away on a breakaway. All the way back into the U.S. territory. Tracked down behind the goal by Corey Millen. Leaves it behind the goal for Mark Fusco. The Fusco brothers on from Harvard. Now Fusco at his own line. Glides gracefully into the straightaway at center. Over the IHL line, right wing. Circle for Scott Fusco. The shot at the side of the net. Fusco is on the rebound in the corner. Right wing boards for Bukestad. Right point for Mark Fusco. Now right wing boards for Bukestad. Oh, taken away from him by Bernie Gallant. Now Gallant wheels on right wing at center. He hits the U.S. line. Wheels in a position. Back pass right wing boards for Aurelio behind him. Dug out behind the goal by Mark Fusco. 48 seconds for the power play. At his own line for Scott Fusco. In the middle at center for Brook. Brook shot. That was blocked. Puck is close to the left point. Brook contains it. Right point for Chelios. The shot right out. What a save by Mulligan. With Scott Fusco darting through the doorstep. Puck into the corner. Dug out by Jensen. Jensen centered it. Blocked in front by Bernie Gallant for the IHL, and he fires it down ice. 21 seconds left in the penalty to Willison. 7 minutes for the stanza, 2 all time. Cavorting behind the goal, the cradlet for the U.S. team is Chris Chelios. Now Chelios at center zone. Drove it in behind the IHL goal. Chased down by Brian Tapp. Icing charge against the U.S. Olympic team. 6:48 left, first period. 8 seconds remaining in the second penalty of the game. Both in succession to the IHL All-Stars are both the defensemen for tripping. This one to Kevin Willison. Say, stay tuned for the first intermission on radio tonight. Our special guest will be the chairman of the board of the Kalamazoo Hockey Club, the host team for this historical hockey event, Mr. Ted Parfit. That's Ted Parfit on radio. He'll be joining us in our first intermission. On television, we will be featuring the highlights of the first period of tonight's action between the IHL All-Stars and the U.S. Olympic team. Face-off left of Mark Barron, U.S. goal. Grant Rezenza for the IHL will oppose for the U.S. Olympic team Gary Sampson. Sampson's goal deadlock matters is 21st. Sticks come down. One by Sampson. Kangaroos left wing boards. Last two by Phil Vercote, the U.S. captain. His pass to an open wing. Stopped at center by Steve Harrison. Penalty over. Drove it in behind. Freddie lost it. So reception. Wing boards. By Grove. It wiggles in along the boards. Dug out by Haiti. Clinical and McGowan blocked it. Right point with a shot. That's wide. Rebound left point. Willison fired just wide. Rebound right point. McGowan fired through a forest of legs. Blocked to the blue line. Willison shot. Blocked down the point by Griffith. Now Griffith at center zone. Reaching the IHL All-Star line. Dropped it right in front. Oh, it's knocked away beautifully. Contained again by the U.S. team. Right point, Gary Haight fired. Blocked on the defense by Willison. Loose right in front. Oh, a backhander. And a great save off the stick of Steve Griffith by Lauren Mulligan. No further play. 5:56 left, first period, 2 all tie from Wing Stadium, Kalamazoo. And this has been an excellent hockey game. The IHL All-Stars aroused the U.S. Olympic team with a rude awakening early. They discovered that this IHL All-Star team was bent on a competitive game tonight. The U.S. team had actually fallen behind early. The IHL All-Stars had jumped into an early 2-0 lead. All ready to go. It'll be Rob Davies for the IHL, Tim Thomas for the U.S. team on the face-off left of Mulliken. Sticks comes down, puck not dropped. And we'll try again. Davies and Thomas. Sticks come down, puck dropped. Davies wanted detoured from harm's way at the crease by Moore. He slipped it in behind the goal for Steve Harrison, seeking shelter with it. Now Harrison will start off very methodically at his own line. Cross-ice end right wing at center for Vic Moore. He drifts it in behind the goal. Digging it out right wing corners, Bob Brook for the U.S. His clearing pass just soared off the stick of Thomas into IHL territory. Gobbled up on the right defense by Warren. Warren in his own line for Davies. Action halted as Kumpel and Schreiber collided seismically right at the point of the clearing pass at the IHL All-Star blue line. No further play. The U.S. team was offside. 5:30 left, first period, 2 all tie. From Wing Stadium, Kalamazoo, Davies and Fiore lifting the All-Stars into a 2-0 lead. LaFontaine and Sampson replying to deadlock it for the visitors. Standing room only overflow throwing tonight. From the face-off on left wing at center, David Jensen swept it in behind the goal for the U.S. team. Dug out behind the goal by Moore. Around the boards on right wing for Wally Schreiber. Checked by Jensen, pinching him. He poked it in behind the goal, working feverishly right in front. The shot that was right through the crease by Harrington, and back comes the IHL. They drive it in behind the goal, and back to reach it is Bob Brook. IHL charged with icing. 5:05 left, first period, 2 all tie. Wing Stadium, Kalamazoo. Faceoff will develop deep in IHL territory to the left of goaltender Lauren Mulliken, and Mulliken has been under a constant siege since the IHL All-Star 2-0 lead was in the process of melting away. All ready to go with a face-off. Yakachuk for the IHL. LaFontaine for the U.S. team. Sticks come down, won by LaFontaine. Right point for Chris Chelios. Oh, fleeced off his stick neatly by Yakachuk. In the middle at center for Danielle, the curve. He was getting off by Jensen, who peeled back, delivered it in front of his own goal. On the defense at center zone for Olchek. Over the IHL line on left wing, and he's offside. No further play. 4:50 left, first period, 2 all tie. Again, a special reminder on radio. The chairman of the board of the Kalamazoo Hockey Club, Ted Parfit, will be our special guest. On television, we will have special highlight features from this opening period. All ready to go, face-off outside the IHL blue line. Dale Yakachuk for the Stars, LaFontaine for the U.S. Sticks come down, won by Yakachuk, poked the center by the Coeur, covering up is Chelios. On the left defense for Hirsch. Rick right on the right defense for Chelios. He lugs it to center and fired. Blocked on the defense by Tuck. Rebound right wing server Olchek. Right in front for Jensen. Shot. What a save by Mulliken. Rebound left point for Hirsch. Behind the goal for Olchek. He swoops him behind the goal. Centered. Right in front. LaFontaine shot right through the crease. Puck into the corner for Brian Tapp. Now tied up on left wing for Yakachuk. Yakachuk barges out of the packet. Center thunders it over the U.S. line. Left wing circle. Centered right in front. And LaCour was crashed into the net by Chelios, and it sent the center zone. Covering up is Preston on left wing for LaCour. Over the U.S. line for Yakachuk. Right in front for LaCour. LaCour. Oh, he was absolutely undressed on the defense by Bukestad. At center. Over the IHL line, left wing boards for LaFontaine. He was skated up along the boards by McGowan, who really thumped him. And back comes the IHL. Yakachuk at center just poked it into U.S. territory. Controlling the right defense by Mark Fusco. He sends the puck kangarooing in behind the IHL goal. Chased down by Scott McGowan. Now McGowan's clearing pass, blocked to the right point by Mark Fusco with a screen shot high over top of the net into the crowd. No further play. 3:34 that first period. IHL All-Stars 2, U.S. Olympic Team 2. Face-off will proceed deep at IHL territory, where the preponderance of activity has been since the IHL had gained an early 2-0 lead. Face-off left of Mulliken, IHL goal. Tony Fiore, who delivered the IHL second unanswered goal before The U.S. rallied with a 2-goal resurgence in 20 seconds in the face-off with Scott Fusco. Won by Scott Fusco for Paul Gay, arranges the triggerman arc of the circle, wrapped up by Herilliu, controlled by Fiore. In the middle of center for Herilliu, he springs out of the pack at center, over the blue line. He wheels, drove it into the corner for Fiore. Fiore on the board. He dug it out, poked off his stick by the U.S. team. Scott Fusco, he drove it to the IHL line. Williston controls. His pass at center zone, picked off and still by Paul Gay. Back into his own zone, the right wing boards for Iafredi. Rinkwad on the left defense for Fusco, clearing the center zone. From center, McGowan feeds Herilliu just outside the U.S. line, and as Herilliu steered it into U.S. territory, he trapped Bernie Galan offside for the IHL. No further play. Break in the action. IHL 2, U.S. 2. This is All-Star Hockey. Yeah. Greg Sampson in his own zone. Rinkwad on the right defense for Bob Brook. Back in the middle at center for Sampson. He curls back into his own zone. U.S. organizing. Now Sampson in his own line for Brook. His pass at center, interrupted by Fiore. Over the U.S. line for Gallant. Right in front for Fiore. Left wing circle for Gallant. Shot! Oh, what a save by Mark Barron. As he grabbed that one with Neil Romeo and Tony Fiore for the IHL All-Stars. Really cruising the doorstep dangerously. 2:24 left, opening period, 2-all tie. And the face-off will commence deep in IHL. Check that U.S. territory, right of netminder Mark Barron, who has been razor sharp in this opening period. All ready to go. It'll be Rezenza opposing Thomas on the face-off. The trigger man is Scott Groove for the IHL. Sticks come down. Rezenza won it. Left point. Harrison fired. Screen shot over top of the net. Behind the goal. Oh, right in front. Rezenza. Shot Barron the save. Puck along the board. Harrison charges in left point to hold it in. Into the corner of Rezenza, and that was locked up on the defense by Gary Hage from Michigan State and the U.S. team. No further play. 2:10 left. Opening period, 2-all tie. Face-off right of Barron. Boy, Barron's been sharp. Each from the University of Wisconsin. A draft choice of the Winnipeg Jets NHL. Now a late change from the U.S. bench, and Lou Barrow. Tim Thomas will be replaced by Gary Sampson with this crucial defensive face-off. Rezenzov and Sampson. Rezenzov won a trigger man Cruel. Right point for Moore, and shot right down. Barron the save with Rezenzov. Park unattended left side of the crate, but it was fired aside by Sampson. Controlled by Moore, and he zooms in over the U.S. line. Right wing circle for Davies. He pulls up right in front of the crease for Cruel. That was knocked away neatly. On the defense by Hirsch, who cleared it over the blue line of center zone. Handled by Vic Moore in right wing boards. His pass is steered into U.S. territory, controlled by Mark Kate. Rinkwad on the left wing circle for Chelios on right wing at center for Kumpel. Kumpel reaches the IHL line, drove it in behind the goal, tracked down by Harrison in pursuit, Tim Thomas. Now Steve Harrison on right wing at center, Ian McGinnis for the IHL. He romps over the U.S. line back to the right point for Moore. Moore and fired it wide. Rebound left wing corner for Davies. Deposits it right back into that corner. It's dug out there. Cruel right in front of McGinnis. Shot! Oh, an electrifying save by Barron. Puck contained at the blue line. Right point by Rezenzov. Throw it into the corner. IHL a hurried change. Dug out in the corner by Fusco at center. Over the line to LaFontaine wheeling in front. He was stopped by Bolin with a minute left in the period, and back comes the IHL. Falkenberg on left wing at center. Wraps over the line. Right in front for Davies to the crease for Falkenberg. It's skidded off his stick, and back comes the U.S. They just cleared a center zone. Covering up at the IHL line is Bolin. On right wing for Schreiber at center. He was checked by Iafredi. He feeds for LaFontaine. Over the IHL line, right wing boards for Olczyk. Into the circle for LaFontaine. He was stumped in the corner by Falkenberg. Action halted as LaFontaine appeared to be momentarily injured, but he bounces back up. 35 seconds left. First period, 2-all tie from Wing Stadium, Kalamazoo. Again, we want to remind you on radio. The chairman of the board of the Kalamazoo Hockey Club, the host team, Mr. Ted Parfit, will be our special guest at our first intermission. On television, we will feature the highlights from this first period action. Face-off left of Mollican, IHL goal. Rob Davies, a goal-getter representing the Wings tonight. In the face-off with Scott Fusco from Harvard. Sticks come down, puck not dropped. Paul Gay from Providence, the trigger man for the U.S. team. Gay, property of the Minnesota North Stars. Davies in the face-off with Fusco. Sticks come down. Fusco won it right in front for Gay. Backhander just wide in a screen. Puck in behind the goal. Dug out neatly by the Olympic team. Brooks shot from the right point. That was blocked on the defense by Willison, who propelled it into U.S. territory. Jensen chased him behind the goal by the league's leading scorer, Fort Wayne's Wally Schreiber. He shadows in front. Now Jensen's long lead on left wing at center for Gabe. Checked along the boards by Rob Davies for the IHL on right wing. He wrapped it right back behind the goal. 5 seconds left. Covering behind the goal is Bob Brook, and he will consume the rest of the time in the first period. There's the horn. First period over. Excellent hockey. And this standing room only overflow crowd at Wing Stadium, Kalamazoo, certainly appreciating the efforts of both clubs here tonight. One period of play complete from Wing Stadium, Kalamazoo, and this, the 18th IHL All-Star game. The score, the IHL All-Stars 2, the U.S. Olympic Team 2. This is IHL All-Star Hockey. Terry Ficcarelli rejoining you. Wing Stadium, Kalamazoo, the site of an historical hockey happening as the International Hockey League All-Stars are opposing the U.S. Olympic team. After one period of play before the standing room only throng overflow crowd of 5,284, the game is tied, surprisingly. It's the IHL All-Stars 2 and the U.S. Olympic Team 2. To open the scoring at 2:52, the IHL All-Stars seized an early lead when Rob Davies from the Kalamazoo Wings connected. Wally Schreiber, the league's leading scorer from the Fort Wayne Comets, on the assist. Davies bolting to the front of the U.S. team's cage from the side of the goal to convert on a sharp, sleek backhander. Davies from Schreiber at 2:52 first period action as the IHL seized an early 1-0 lead. Schreiber left wing at center of Falkenberg. He was checked neatly by Fusco. Puck skids into the corner behind the U.S. goal. Davies took it up right in front. Backhand, he scores! Rob Davies! IHL leads 1-0. Less than 2 minutes later, 1 minute and 48 seconds to be exact, at 4:40 from a faceoff deep in the U.S. zone. Tony Fiore from the Flint Generals won the faceoff, directing it to the right point of Fort Wayne Comets All-Star Vic Morin. He strolled into the circle, drove his shot on Fiore at the crease, steered it home. Fiore from Morin at 4:40. IHL had taken a 2-0 lead. To the crease, Fiore scores! Tony Fiore! IHL leads 2-0! Tony Fiore on the deflection, and the IHL All-Stars lead suddenly 2-0. Booms in. Less than 3 minutes later, the U.S. team broke back. Ed Olczyk and Pat LaFontaine collaborating at 7:36. LaFontaine's 51st from Olczyk and Dave Jensen, and the IHL lead had shrunk to 2-1. Off wing for Olczyk. Now Olczyk at center, motors in over the IHL line. Right in front for LaFontaine. Shot, score! Pat LaFontaine. It's a 2-1 IHL All-Star lead. 20 seconds later, the U.S. team rushed right back. Gary Sampson of Boston College scoring his 21st goal of the season from Chris Chelios and Steve Griffith, 7:56, and the first period ended in a 2-2 tie. IHL All-Star lead from the face-off. Chelios on his own line on the right defense. At center for Griffith. Over the line, left wing circle. Right in front for that score! And the U.S. is tied at 10-2. U.S. outshot the IHL in the first period, 14-12. We're all set for second period action. IHL 2, U.S. Olympic Team 2. And of the IHL All-Stars, 12 shots. Both goaltenders were tantamount to success. They were paramount in that first period. Referee tonight is Dave Fisher, and the linesmen Lou Cortese and Kevin Flood. Great to have you with us tonight. IHL All-Star game, historical hockey happening in Kalamazoo. IHL All-Stars and the U.S. Olympic team. After tonight, the U.S. Olympic team only has 2 more performances in this country before they head for Sarajevo, Yugoslavia, to successfully defend the gold medal that they won so remarkably in 1980. All ready to go. Pat LaFontaine with his 51st goal in that opening period for the U.S. And he will be our special guest at our second intermission tonight. And Rob Davies for the Kalamazoo Wings from the IHL. I think you'll find the interview with Pat LaFontaine very refreshing. Just a very wonderful individual, very personable, very precocious youngster at the age of 18. And it was a joy to not only interview him today, but it was just a real joy to have an opportunity to visit with him at some length today at the All-Star Luncheon. From the face-off, the puck skims into the U.S. zone, tracked down beyond the goal by Chelios, left wing corner for Hirsch. Back beyond the goal for Chelios. Davies shadowing in a rather voracious mood. Now Chelios wheels on left wing at center. He swept it in beyond the goal, swooping in after it is Hirsch. He scraped it off the backboard. Right in front for Jensen. Shot. What a save by Mulliken at the crease. Rebound left wing boards for LaFontaine. Left point for Olczyk. He stroked it in beyond the goal. Mulliken comes out to intercede around the boards on left wing for Falkenberg. Blocked at the blue line by Olczyk. Left it at the blue line for Jensen. Jensen steered it in beyond the goal. He was thumped by Tutt. Dug out beyond the goal by Bolin. Leading into the right wing boards for Schreiber to his own line for Davies. That puck just snaked off his stick to center zone. LaFontaine lost control of Schreiber. Wally Schreiber on right wing at center over the line with a shot right down. Oh, an electrifying skate save by Barron. Puck control by Chelios. Now Chris Chelios for the U.S. Motors to center. He drips it in beyond the IHL goal. Playing the carom off the backboards. Vic Moore and U.S. changes. Now Vic Moore from the Fort Wayne Comets. He leads at his own line crisply for Rob Davies. Now Davies wheels in the middle at center. Breakaway pass all the way for Gruel. In along with a shot. What a save by Barham. Rebound along the boards. U.S. player is injured. It's Fusco as he went tumbling into the boards. Puck in behind the goal. Digging it out for the IHL is Moore. Around the boards on the left wing for Gruel. They clear the blue line. Bob Brook blocked at right point. He drove it around the boards right side. For Moore and thump Burkota along the boards. They jostle for it vigorously and lock it up. No further play. Mark Fusco really went tumbling into the backboards behind the U.S. goal, and he landed flush on his shoulder. And he immediately hobbled, skated very gingerly to the U.S. bench, and trainer Dennis Hellwig is now administering to Fusco, the standout from Harvard. From the face-off behind the goal, control by the IHL. Now Vic Moore motors into the straightaway. Center breakaway pass from McGinnis, crossing the U.S. line. That was broken up by Jensen on left wing at center of Paul Gage. Checked by Rozanzov, swept back into the U.S. zone by Scott Gruel. Covering left wing boards is Jensen. Jensen whips a pass to an open wing. Covering for the IHL is Harrison. On left wing at center, he drove it in behind the goal. Barron out of the goal, swept it around the boards. Gruel lurking in the shadows, right side to dig it out diligently. He's jammed along the boards by Gruel, but he centered it in front for Rozanzov. He was stumped neatly on the defense, and it was sent to center zone over the blue line, and they lock it up just outside the U.S. line. Vic Moore from the IHL and Paul Gay for the U.S. Olympic team. No further play. We played 2:16 middle period, and it's a 2-all tie. Last goal in this game came at 7:56 opening period. Sampson from Chelios and Griffith, a 2-goal U.S. strike in 20 seconds to erase a 2-0 deficit. And the face-off, Daniel LaCour on left wing, over the U.S. line, left wing, circle for Yakachuk, shot, that's wide. Rebound, right point for Scott McGowan. Although the boards for Preston, into the corner for Yakachuk. Right point for McGowan, pinch again as he pulled over the U.S. player, and he's hurt. As he went tumbling, Mark Kumpel, the puck skids the center zone. LaCour romps over the line, left wing, circle, shot right down. Kicked out by Barron. Puck along the boards, dug out by the U.S. team. Chelios on right wing. At Senator Harrington over the IHL line. He sent it for Jensen in front, and Yakachuk came back and broke it up. Now Yakachuk motors up the right side at center of the IHL. Over the U.S. line. Wheels left wing circle into the corner. Swoops in beyond the goal. Still has it wheeling to the right wing boards. Yakachuk pulls up and then lost control, and back comes the U.S. at center LaFontaine. Over the IHL line. Right in front for Jensen. Checked neatly by Kevin Willison. Willison for the IHL on left wing at center of Preston. Over the U.S. line for Daniel LaCour. He wheels left wing circle, working on Chelios, who rode him off. Chelios controls behind the goal. He just fired it off the boards past Moore at the right point into IHL territory. Chased down behind the goal by Brian Tupp. In pursuit is Olczyk. His clearing pass blocked right point by Jensen. Jensen along the boards. He bursts into the right wing circle. Wheels into the corner. He was muscled there by Aurelio. And the IHL breaks out of the pack. Fiore on left wing instead of Bernie Gallant. Oh, the U.S. line right in front for Fiore. And Iafredi came back and spilled Fiore. It skids on the blue line. Contained left point by Tupp. Along the boards for Aurelio. He was checked by a sprawling at Olczyk. Olczyk drove it into IHL territory. Covering behind the goal of the IHL is Vic Morin. Now Morin at his own line. At center over the U.S. line for Fiore. Left wing circle. Right in front for Aurelio. Back counter. Oh, remarkable save by Barron. Point blank range. Puck in behind the goal. Dug out by Iafredi. Iafredi's clearing pass on right wing for Harrington at center for Griffith. Over the line. Along the right wing board to the left point. Sampson's backhander blocked in front by Tony Fiore. Fiore in his own corner. He was checked along the boards by Verkota, but covering up behind the goal, Brian Tupp. Now Tupp just leaves it behind the goal for Morin. Morin just sailed into the blue line. Glove down left point by Jensen. Checked neatly by Aurelio. He poked it into the corner. Covering there is Vic Morin. He fired it into the U.S. bench at center ice. No further play. 15-15 left, middle period. 2-all tie. This is IHL All-Star Hockey. Did he just leave? To the play. McGowan on left wing at center for Dave Falkenberg. Checked by Brook, but trailing for the IHL on left wing is Harrison. He drove it in behind the goal. Digging it out diligently is Jensen. Jensen on the board. Checked by Wally Schreiber. He poked it back into the corner. Fusco is there. Behind the goal for Brook. Muscle at the backboards robustly by Falkenberg, but it squirms left side of the goal. Tracked down by the U.S. Jensen at center for Gay over the IHL line. His pass broken up by Rob Davies for the IHL. He steered it to center zone, handled by Jensen. Now Dave Jensen leaves for Gay, back to his own line, the right defense for Bob Brook, motoring to center. His pass knocked down by Davies. He recaptures it for Gay. On left wing of the center red line for Jensen. Jensen drifts it in front of the IHL goal, knocked down by Harrison. Feeding for Rob Davies in the middle at center, skidded off his stick to the right wing boards, where Schreiber was choked along the boards robustly by Hirsch. Skids into the IHL zone for McGowan. On the left defense for Harrison. Now Steve Harrison, rink right on the right defense for McGowan, and he eludes him. It was too far to center zone. Wrapped back into the corner by Fusco. Swooping in after it along the board with Thomas giving a rough ride by Harrison. IHL will start out. Davies in the middle, center for Ian McGinnis, checked by Hirsch. Peeling back to cradle it is Thomas for the U.S. We're back into his own right wing circle on the defense for Chelios. On right wing at center for Thomas. He burst it over the IHL line. Centered it for Millen right in front. He was checked by McGinnis. Back on the IHL. On right wing motoring to center is Scott Krul over the U.S. line. He swoops him on the goal. Bolt right in front with a shot. Rebound in the crease. Score! Ian McGinnis. IHL leads 3-2. On the rebound at the crease of Scott Krul's point-blank thrust at 6:25, and the IHL has reclaimed the lead at 3-2. The U.S. has never led. They tied it once, rallying from a 2-0 deficit. Ian McGinnis from the Peoria Prancers, an IHL rookie this season. Scott Krul on the assist. And for McGinnis, he had scored 23 goals this season with Peoria. Krul, the single assist. All the IHL goals with one assist. Time 6:25. And the face-off, Jensen. Right in front of LaFontaine. Shot over top of that. He really blistered it. Puck came behind the goal. Fontaine brought it. Lugged it right in front. Poked away neatly by the netminder Malakin. Control on right wing at center by Ian McGinnis. Over the line for Resenda. Right wing circle. Oh, LaFontaine came back and rode him off. Puck control at center zone again by the IHL. cut on right wing. Over the U.S. line for Gruel. Gruel on the boards. He was cracked down by Fusco. There'll be a U.S. penalty to Scott Fusco at 7:05. This will be the IHL's first power play of the night with 12:55 left. Middle period. It's a 3-2 IHL lead. Ian McGinnis from Scott Gruel at 6:25. The IHL with its first power play. It's Scott Fusco, who injured his shoulder momentarily but has returned at 7:05. 2 minutes for holding. Face-off left of Barron. U.S. goal. It'll be Rezenzov for the IHL. Sampson for the U.S. Rezenzov won it. Right point for McGowan. Left point for Harrison. The shot, that's wide. Rebound, side of the goal. Dug out neatly by Jensen, who took it off the stick of Rezenzov. He wheels to the right wing boards. His pass deflected off the stick of Harrison all the way into IHL territory. Handled by McGowan on right wing at center for Ian McGinnis. He motors in over the U.S. line. He wheels right in front for Rezenzov. Shot! He telegraphed it, blocked by Jensen. Skid to the right point where McGowan fired to the crease. Score! Scott McGowan of the IHL leads 4-2. Scott McGowan stuck that shot home through a forest of legs at the right point. Power play goal at 7:36, and the IHL is struck with a 2-goal outburst in 1 minute and 11 seconds as they capitalize on their first power play of the night, and they've restored their 2-goal cushion at 4-2. From the face-off, puck snails in front of the U.S. goal. Tom Hirsch on the left defense to collect it. I think they printed the goal to Gruel on the deflection. That centers over the U.S. Chelios in the IHL territory, drove it into the corner for Gay. Gay jostled by Preston. Back comes the IHL. Morin steams to center over the U.S. line. Yakachuk pulls up right at the blue line, right side. He closes right in front for the core. Right point for Preston. Right wing second for the core. The shot right on. Stick save Barron. Rebound to the blue line. Right point. Morin fired. Blocked right in front of the goal by Bugstad and cleared to center zone by Chelios. Controlled Chelios himself. Wheeling at center zone. All the IHL line. Wheeling along the boards. He was stumped on the defense by Morin. Dug out diligently behind the goal by Yakachuk, and he has swept it around the left wing boards. Down ice. Back to reach it for the U.S. Iafredi. IHL charged with icing break in the action. IHL 4. U.S. Olympic Team 2. This is IHL All-Star Hockey. Apparently Gruel touched today. I looked like McGowan's shot went in all the way and nobody...
Like one of those the other night here.
Yeah, it was. To the play, Bernie Gallant bursts in over the U.S. line. He wheels right in front, and he was thumped from behind on the defense by Gary Haight as that puck just slithered into the crease, and Mark Barron pounced on top of that one energetically for the U.S. No further play. The IHL 2-goal outburst in 71 seconds. Ian McGinnis from Peoria from Scott Gruel of Muskegon at 6:25. And then Scott Gruel apparently nudged Scott McGowan's shot from the right point that really traveled through a forest of legs to the crease. Gruel from McGowan at 7:36. So Scott Gruel has been the spark plug here in this second period for the IHL All-Stars, restoring their 2-goal lead at 4-2. They led earlier 2-0 before the U.S. roared back to tie it. Their 2 goals in a 20-second blitz. And the face-off. Control by the U.S. Jensen springs out of the pack in the middle center of Pat LaFontaine. He couldn't reach that. Wrapped back to the U.S. line by Willison. And from the right defense, Bob Brook launched it into the penalty box at center zone across the way from us. No further play. 10:59 left, second period. All-Stars 4, U.S. 2. Davies, Fiore, McGinnis, and Gruel connecting for the IHL. Gruel with a goal and an assist in this second period for the IHL Stars. Then the face-off. Jensen in his own line in the middle of center for LaFontaine. That one became airborne. Glassed out LaFontaine's leg. Outside the IHL line, controlled by Rob Davies. On right wing along the boards. He was squeezed there by Jensen. Jensen's pass in the middle of the ice was knocked right back to the side of the U.S. goal by Harrison. Now cavorting behind the goal, the cradle is Bob Brooks. Breakaway pass at center roll check. He was behind the defense into the corner, but Mulligan came out, scrubbed it around the board. LaFontaine is there to dig it out. He wheels in behind the goal, working on Harrison. It gave him a rough right at the backboard. But dug on the backboard by Jensen, right point for Brook. A high drive over top of the net. Rebound off the backboards, all the way back into U.S. territory. Behind the goal, the netminder Barron drove it around the boards on right wing. At center, Pat LaFontaine. He jets over the IHL line. Wheels right in front. He's hooked by Falkenberg. Trailing the play, Olchek. Oh, he raked it over top of that. Penalty coming up to Falkenberg, who hooked Pat LaFontaine from behind. No further play. 9:59 left, middle period. IHL All-Stars 4 and the U.S. Olympic team 2. That time, Pat LaFontaine exploded out of the pack. And the 51-goal Imperial Impresario, as he was pouring and boring into the doorstep, was impeded from behind by an inhibiting Dave Falkenberg at 10:01. U.S. with their third power play of the night. They trail 4-2. Thus far, the IHL All-Stars have diffused and otherwise disarmed this highly touted U.S. Olympic team power play. Bernie Gallant for the IHL. And Scott Fusco on the faceoff. Fusco won it. Left point for Hirsch. Right point for Chelios. Now Chris Chelios. Left point for Hirsch. Now Hirsch. Rink wide right wing. Sugar of Bukestack. The right shot is right on. And Mulligan is there to close the door. No further play. And Lorne Mulligan has been superlative in the IHL goal tonight. He's the two-time winner of the Norris Trophy as the league's stingiest netminder in the IHL for two-time Turner Cup champion Toledo. Face-off left of him in the All-Star goal. Gallant and Fusco. Sticks come down. Won by Gallant. In traffic, controlled by Scott McGowan. Heel of the circle, and he whipped it off the left wing boards. Down ice for the IHL. Mark Barron, right side of the goal, swept it away just barely from the on-rushing Neil Hariliu. And seeking shelter with it behind the goal is Chris Chelios, the Montreal Canadiens draft choice. Now Chelios lugs it into the straightaway at center. Paul Gay hits the IHL line, fleeced off his stick and nudged the center by Willison. Covering is Neil Hariliu. Now Hariliu on right wing at center for Bernie Gallant. He zooms in over the U.S. line. Left wing circle for Willison. Shadow hit the goal post. And back comes the U.S. Chelios at center for Fusco. He drove it into the IHL right wing corner. Gay jostles for it vigorously with McGowan. Gallant and Hariliu come in to secure Scott Fusco. No further play. Boy, Kevin Willison, who has scored 2 short-handed goals this season for Milwaukee, and from the left wing circle, he really uncorked the Sizzler, and he crashed it off the goalpost behind an obviously victimized Mark Beer, but this time the U.S. goaltender found the goalpost as his true ally. They saw right of Mulligan. Still 1 minute left in Falkenberg's penalty for Toledo in the IHL. LaFontaine in the face-off against Rosenza. Sticks come down. Puck not dropped. Sticks come down. Puck not dropped. Every time Kevin Flood is the linesman, we have to wait 3 or 4 times. Now from the face-off, LaFontaine won it. Left wing circle for Jensen. Right in front for LaFontaine. He fired it through the crease. Oh, what a save by Mulligan. And the puck lands on the back of the net and is pinned right there by IHL All-Star defenseman Brian Tutt. No further plays. Boy, that Pat LaFontaine is an exciting hockey player. Plays the game with great animation, full expression, lots of exuberance. And he is a very skilled and really a very silk, sleek, satin individual. Boy, he plays the game effortlessly. What an asset he will be to the New York Islanders at the conclusion of the Olympic Games in February. From the face-off, Olchek won it. From Razanzov, right point for Brook. Right wing boards for Jensen. He curls them on the boards. Right point for Brook. Left point for LaFontaine. His pass was blocked by McGinnis. Along the boards, Corey Millen was checked by McGinnis, and is finally muscled to center zone by Moore to drum LaFontaine to the ice. Covering is Corey Millen. Now Rick White and right wing for Brooks at center. Over the IHL line. Rick White left wing boards for Old Check. Left over trailing Millen in the circle. Left point for Pat LaFontaine. Left wing circle for Millen. He moves right in front. Shot score! Corey Millen! And it's a 4-3 IHL lead. George Kenyon, the Kalamazoo Wings goaltender, will replace the IHL starting goaltender, the Toledo Gold Diggers, Lord Mulligan, and listen to the crowd, the Spring Stadium crowd with the hometown hero in goal. George Kenyon, the winningest, most active goaltender in Kalamazoo Wings hockey history. His 5th campaign and his first ever All-Star appearance. He replaces Lauren Mollican at the 11:46 mark of the second period, concurrent with the U.S. Olympic team's first power play goal and 3 opportunities to shave the IHL All-Star team's lead to 4-3. Now has been issued the stern challenge and responsibility of preserving this suddenly fragile 1-goal lead for the IHL All-Stars. The IHL has never trailed. This is their second lead. Both leads at one time were 2 goals. All ready to go. Gagnon will be in goal to our left. And in goal to our right for the U.S. team, Mark Barron. From the face-off at the U.S. line, Iafrades. Process of the right defense for Haight. His pass blocked in the blue line by Davies, but hurrying to cover up with Sampson. He wraps up the left side at center. Over the IHL line, working on Harrison into the corner. He centered right in front for Vercote, and he was checked by Davies, who peeled back beautifully. Puck is loose behind the goal. Gagnon came out of the goal. Stood it around the boards. Blocked left point by Iafrades, pinching him. Assertively from the blue line. He drove it in beyond the goal. Williston is there to cover up. Around the boards on left wing for Fagerberg at center for Davies. Over the line for Schreiber. He's in alone. Oh, and coming back was Iafrades brilliantly to check him. It's loose to the left wing boards. Dug out diligently by Vercote. Vercote along the boards, checked by Davies, who dug it away. Davies in the corner, into the circle, side of the goal for Schreiber. Oh, as he was tumbling to the ice, he swept it right through the crease, and it's fired down ice by the U.S. team and Steve Griffith. Played on the left wing and center by Kevin Willison. He drove it in beyond the U.S. goal. Tracked down by Tom Hirsch for the U.S. Olympic team. Leading to the right wing boards for Gary Hape. His pass deflected airborne by the IHL Scott Gruel, but covering up his Haight himself, he wrapped it to center zone. Brian Tutt's pass deflected off the stick of Corey Millen into the IHL bench. No further play. 7:01 left. Middle period. IHL All-Stars 4 and the U.S. Olympic team 3, and the face-off forthcoming center zone. Want to remind you that the U.S. Olympic team's leading scorer, #1 draft choice of the New York Islanders, Pat LaFontaine, will be our special guest at our second intermission tonight. From the face-off, puck in behind the U.S. goal. Hirsch lost control to McGinnis. Now McGinnis wheels, right point for McCowan. The shot, that was just wide. Rebound side of the goal for Gruel. Gruel, sharp angle shot into the crease. McGinnis bangs at it. Remarkable save by Barron. Contained right point by McGowan. Left point for Tutt. Screen shot right up. Barron the save. Rebound right in front. Gruel shot, score! Scott Gruel. IHL leads 5-3. Gruel has really been the catalyst of this 3-goal second period uprising for the IHL. Gruel missed the first 26 games this season with a knee injury, has still produced 40 points, 20 goals, and 20 assists in 20 games, and he has scored 2 goals and an assist. 2 goals and an assist to spark the IHL All-Stars, accounting for all 3 of their goals in this middle period, and the IHL has restored their 2-goal grip. That goal coming less than 2 minutes after Corey Millen had brought the U.S. team back to within 1. Gruel's second goal. For the face-off puck behind the goal. U.S. goal. Controlled by Brook. His pass at center. That was stopped by LaCour. He drove it in behind the goal. Digging it out at the backboards. In the corner is Brook. Now Brook pass to the blue line. Blocked right point by Moore. Right wing circle for Preston. Shot right on. What a save by Barron. Rebound deep in the left wing circle. Control by Pat LaFontaine. He just ripped it to center zone. Control by Moore. Over the U.S. line for Daly check, and he's offside by a stride on the left wing for the IHL. No further play. 5:53 left, middle period. IHL All-Stars 5, U.S. Olympic Team 3. This is All-Star Hockey. Ficarelli rejoining you live from Wing Stadium, Kalamazoo. 5:36 left, second period. IHL All-Stars 5, U.S. Olympic Team 3. And the face-off will have its occurrence deep in U.S. territory to the right of goaltender Mark Barron. Tony Fiore for the IHL and Gary Sampson for the U.S. Sticks come down, puck not dropped. Sticks come down, puck drop. Fiore won it. Right point for McGowan. McGowan wrapped it in behind the goal. Digging out Iafredi. Now Iafredi's clearing pass on the right wing. Circle over Gary Sampson. He springs out of the pack, motoring to center. He zooms in over the IHL line around Willis, and he dashes into the corner. Thumped by McGowan, who came back. Covering up behind the goal is Willison. At his own line for Fiore at center over the U.S. line on left wing where Bernie Gallant. He working on Gary Haight. He swoops him behind the goal. Haight gave him a rough right to the backboard. All the way to the blue line. McGowan forcing the issue, pitching him from the right point. Right wing circle for Neil Herlieu. Correct to the right point for McGowan with a shot right up. Barron the save. Rebound along the blue line. Left point. Gallant fired. That one was deflected to the glass by Griffith, and back comes the U.S. At center zone, Vercoda was skidded off by Harrison, who came back. Harrison with the IHL on left wing at center for Kevin Willison. Willison just flutters it into U.S. territory. Covering up deep in their left wing circle is Hershey. Snaps the pass on left wing at center for Fusco. Spun around by Schreiber. Back comes the IHL. Davies at center over the U.S. line for Falkenberg. Left at left point for Tutt. Right up with a shot. Skate save Barron. Rebound left point for Tutt again. Left wing boards for Schreiber. Schreiber was checked up on the boards by Haight. Haight worked it loose on right wing for Scott Bukestad. In the middle at center for Paul Gay. Zooms in over the line with a shot from the top of the circle, just wide. Rebound along the boards. Dug out by Hirsch, charging him on the left point. Left wing corner for Paul Gay. Gay wheels, centered it. Right point. Chelios fired, blocked by Falkenberg. Back comes the IHL, 3-on-1. Davies at center, tears over the U.S. line. Right in front for Falkenberg, and it rolled off the stick of the crease, knocked away by Barron. Right wing corner for Chelios. Chelios leads cross ice on left wing for Paul Gay. Gay just stroked that in behind the goal. Covering up as Moore and both teams changed. Moore sailed it up on left wing for Gruel at center. Checked by Chelios. He motors in over the IHL line. Wheels him behind the goal. Center to the crease. Oh, Jensen failed to convert. IHL controls. Now Davies takes the pass from Schreiber in the middle at center. At the IHL line on the right wing of the U.S. line versus Gruel. That was broken up, and back comes the U.S. Chelios from his own side of center. Drove it to the side of the goal. Gagnon comes out clear of the blue line. Oh, hold took. Left wing circle. Shot. Oh, LaFontaine right in front. Shot and goal. Pat LaFontaine. And the IHL lead is cut to 5-4. LaFontaine with his second goal, and his his third point of the night, matching his adversary, Scott Grew. As this game continues to seesaw, it's a 5-4 IHL lead. The IHL has struck 3 times, the U.S. twice in this period. That's LaFontaine's 52nd goal. And the face of left wing boards for Scott Grew for the IHL. He just looped it to center zone. Steered right back to the IHL line by Bob Rook. Controlled on the defense by Morin. Rink one on the left defense for Williston in the middle. At center for Grant Rozanzov. It traveled 2 lines offside. LaFontaine from Hirsch, and it should have been Olczyk at 16:49. It was Olczyk's initial shot that Gagnon saved, and then LaFontaine wrapped home the rebound. So it should be LaFontaine from Olczyk and Hirsch. I'm sure that'll be changed. It was Olczyk who fired the initial shot. That's 3 assists tonight for Ed Olczyk. All ready to go. From the face-off. Controlled by the U.S. Jensen over the line with a high drive right on. Gagnon found that one on the radar screen and brought it down high for the IHL All-Stars and the Kalamazoo Wings. No further play. 2:42 left, middle period, 5-4 IHL lead. Rozanzov and Sampson. Rozanzov won it behind the goal for McGowan. Around the boards on the left wing for Grew. At center for Ian McGinnis. He bolts in over the U.S. line along the boards. He pulls up. Rick one to the right point for McGowan. McGowan fired. It was knocked down in front by Sampson. Sampson in the middle of center for Steve Griffith. He tears in over the IHL line for Sampson. In behind the goal for Verkota. Thumped by McGinnis. Puck into the corner. Dugout by Verkota on a second effort. Checked again by McGinnis on a second effort. McGinnis played it around the boards. Blocked by Iafredi. Side of the goal for Verkota. His pass broken up by Grew. Grew wraps to center. Over the U.S. line. Left wing circle. Wheels right in front of the shot. He raked it over top of it. Puck to the side of the goal. Grew stole it. Right in front of the shot. Farron closed the door. Rebound is airborne. Loved him behind the goal by Bob Rook. Bob Rook leads to the right wing boards for Griffith. Lost it to Yakachuk. Sent it from McGinnis in front. He fired it through the crease. Puck into the corner. Dug out by the U.S. On left wing, Paul Gabe. In the middle at center for Griffith. Cracked by Preston. Rolls in the IHL territory. Controlled by Yakachuk on the left wing at center for Daniel Lacour. He darts in over the U.S. line. Drove it in behind the goal, and he eludes Barron into the corner. Swooping in after it is Preston. He pressed over the IHL. Jolted along the boards. Rather lustily by Scott Bukestad, and they'll lock it up. No further play. 1:18 left, middle period. IHL All-Stars 5, U.S. Olympic Team 4. Face-off left of goaltender Mark Barron, who's gone all the way in the U.S. goal. Well, it'll be interesting to see the attendance tonight. I'll tell you, this is a huge crowd. They're sitting in the aisles tonight. Face-off left of the goaltender Mark Barron. Yakachuk in the face-off. He won it. Left point for Willison. That shot was blocked by Bukestad, but deflects him behind the goal where Yakachuk was rudely upended by Chelios. They jam for it lustily. Yakachuk on a second effort. Behind the goal for the Corey. Center to the crease. The puck reptile. Then Gay was there to block down with a minute left in the period. He deposits right wing corner for Chelios, who wrapped at the center. Controlled by Tutt. Brian Tutt for the IHL on right wing for Preston, still at center. He drove it off the U.S. backboards. Chelios controls that, and he sailed it to the IHL line. Controlled by Brian Tutt on the left wing at center for Yakachuk. He just rolls it along the boards into the corner. Covering up for the U.S. is Hirsch. Leading on left wing at center for Corey Millen. Beyond him, Tutt for the IHL. Drove it back into U.S. territory. Controlled at center zone again by Tutt. Tutt steered it to the U.S. line. Chelios broke that up, drove it into the IHL zone. Now Williston will start out in the middle at center for Gallant. He springs to the U.S. line, checked by Chelios, controlled by LaFontaine. In the middle, center for Jensen, over the IHL line left wing. Now for LaFontaine, he wheels in front. He was checked neatly by Gallant, who came back, and it's fired down ice at the horn. Second period action concluded from Wing Stadium, Kalamazoo, in this 18th IHL All-Star game. And it has been a very exciting and pulsating game thus far tonight. The IHL All-Stars maintaining the lead. They squandered it once at 2-0, then they were tied 2-2. They sprung into a 4-2 lead before the U.S. team registered to make it 4-3. The IHL came back to make it 5-3, and then the U.S. struck back to close the gap again to 5-4. Scott Gruel, 2 goals and an assist for the IHL All-Stars. Pat LaFontaine, 2 goals and an assist. He's the leading scorer for the U.S. Olympic team, not only tonight, but through their season thus far.
Terry Ficcarelli rejoining you with our second intermission. Wing Stadium, Kalamazoo, the IHL All-Stars opposing the U.S. Olympic team. And after 2 periods of play, it's the IHL All-Stars 5, the U.S. Olympic team 4. We have 5 goals to show you for this second period action. Ian McGinnis, the Peoria Prancers Young Rookie of the Year candidate, scored at 6:25 early in that second period to restore the lead to the IHL. McGinnis rebounding home. Scott Gruel shot at the crease. McGinnis from Gruel at 6:25. And the IHL triggered a 3-goal second period uprising, taking the lead again 3-2.
The cradle it is Thomas for the U.S. We're back into his own right wing circle on the defense for Chelios. On right wing at center for Thomas. He burst into the IHL line. Centered it for Millen right in front. He was checked by McGinnis. Back from the IHL. On right wing motoring to center is Scott Gruel over the U.S. line. He swoops semi on the goal. Bolt right in front with a shot. Rebound in the crease. Score! Ian McGinnis. IHL leads 3-2.
71 seconds later, Scott Gruel converted on a Scott McGowan point shot. McGowan from the Kalamazoo Wings on the first power play goal and the first opportunity. IHL regained the 2-goal grip, 4-2.
By McGowan on right wing at center for Ian McGinnis. He motors in over the U.S. line. He wheels right in front for Razumdov. Shot! He telegraphed it, blocked by Jensen. Skid to the right point where McGowan fired to the crease. Score! Scott McGowan! And the IHL leads 4-2.
4 minutes later, the U.S. broke right back of a power play goal on their own. Corey Millen from the left wing circle blazed the shot past Lauren Mollican. Millen's 12th from LaFontaine and Olchek, 11:46. IHL lead, it shrunk to 4-3.
Covering is Corey Millen. Now Rick White and right wing for Brooks at center. Over the IHL line. Rick White left wing boards for Olchek. Looking for trailing Millen in the circle. Left point for Pat LaFontaine. Left wing circle for Millen. He moves right in front. Shot score! Corey Millen. And it's a 4-3 IHL lead.
A minute and 43 seconds later, with Kalamazoo Wings goaltender George Gagnon inserted for Toledo starting netminder Lauren Mollican, the IHL All-Stars broke right back. 13:29. Scott Gruel, Muskegon Mohawks left winger, connecting for his second goal in that 3-goal second period surge for the IHL All-Stars. Ian McGinnis and Brian Tutt the assists at 13:29. And the IHL had reclaimed its 2-goal grip at 5-3.
Right up! Clear the save! Rebound right in front! Gruel shot score! Scott Gruel! IHL leads 5-3.
3 minutes and 20 seconds after Scott Gruel registered his second goal of the game, Pat LaFontaine for the U.S. answered for his second goal of the game, his 52nd of the season at 16:49. His line mates Ed Olchek and Tom Hirsch assisting. The second period ended with the IHL clinging to a very precarious 5-4 lead.
Chelios from his own side of center, drove to the side of the goal. Gagnon comes out clear the blue line. Oh, Olchek, left wing circle, shot! Goal, LaFontaine right in front, shot, score! Pat LaFontaine! And the IHL lead is cut to 5-4. At center zone again by Tutt. Tutt steered it to the U.S. line. Chelios broke that up. Tony Ficcarelli rejoining you live. Wing Stadium, Kalamazoo. We're all set for third period action. The IHL All-Stars who have led throughout the game, 5, and the U.S. Olympic team, 4. Scott Gruel with the 2 goals and an assist. He was very instrumental in that IHL 3-goal second period scourge. Pat LaFontaine with 2 goals and an assist for the U.S. Olympic team. Want to remind you that we will feature our Insurance Service Center Stars of the Game show after tonight's action. And tonight we will be featuring the most valuable players from each team, the IHL All-Stars and the U.S. Olympic team, at center ice, a special edition of the Insurance Service Center Stars of the Game show. Tonight we will feature the most valuable players from both teams, and both will receive a beautiful Seiko watch, compliments of Zales Jewelers in Kalamazoo. All ready to go. Third period action. Mark Barron, the elongated one, in goal to our left for the U.S. Olympic team, and George Gagnon in goal to our right for the IHL, representing the local team, the Kalamazoo Wings. Rob Davies from the Kalamazoo Wings, who scored once tonight. Pat LaFontaine with 2 goals and an assist for the U.S. His line mate Ed Olczyk with 3 assists from the faceoff. Control at center zone. Chris Chelios for the U.S. He drifted in behind the IHL goal, tracked down by Morin. Morin's pass blocked by Chelios, who anticipated pinching him from the right point. He was checked in the corner, though, by Vic Morin. Morin just rolled at the center zone. Pat LaFontaine controls. Now LaFontaine on the left wing hits the IHL All-Star line. Poked off his stick by Rob Davies, but it was offside. No further play. Played 22 seconds of the third period, 5-4. IHL lead. Scott Gruel with 2 goals and an assist tonight. Tony Fiore, Rob Davies, and Ian McGinnis have also connected. All the Wings have been in action. George Gagnon in goal. Scott McGowan has 1 assist on the lone IHL power play goal, which was produced by Scott Gruel. And Rob Davies opened the scoring tonight. In the face of McGowan behind his own goal. Left wing corners. Kevin Willison chased in behind the goal by Jensen. Around the boards on right wing for Ian McGinnis. Now McGinnis back around the boards on left wing for Kevin Willison. Willison just swept at the center zone. Backpedaling with it at the U.S. line is Hirsch. Rink one on the right defense for LaFontaine. His pass blocked at center by Rozanzov. He romps over the line with a shot right on. Darren Pad save. Rebound right wing serve at Chelios. In the middle center for Fontaine. His pass broken up by McGowan. Over the U.S. line for Grant Rozanzov, but Scott Gruel is still vacating U.S. territory, and he's outside on the left wing with the IHL. No further play at the 59-second mark, third period. IHL 5, U.S. team 4. Faceoff will be outside the U.S. blue line, across the way from us on the IHL right wing. All ready to go. Yakticek in the faceoff with Sampson. Won by Sampson in front of the goal for Bob Brook for the U.S. Now Brook leads on right wing at center for Gary Sampson over the IHL line for Burkota. He was really racked off his skates by Morin. Controlled in front of the goal by Harrison. His pass blocked by Brook. Left wing circle. Right in front of Burkota. Shotty at the goalpost. Yakticek crashed into the goalpost in an effort to defend and protect Gagnon, and that uprooted the net off the pipe at the right goalpost. No further play. Oh, Phil Burkota just poured right in, and somehow he missed. Boy, I don't know how he missed that one. It looked like the U.S. had tied it for the second time tonight. They have never led. The face-off will originate outside. Well, let's check. Inside now. Inside the U.S. the IHL line. It'll be Fiore for the IHL. He's connected tonight. Scott Fusco for the U.S. Sticks come down. Won by Fiore in front of the goal for Brian Tutt. Now Tutt at his own line for Fiore. His pass broken up at center by Fusco. He motors in over the IHL line. Right wing boards for Gay. Check by Aurelio. Gallant springs out of the pack at center. Over the U.S. line, left wing. He wheels. Right in front with a shot. Oh, what a save by Barron. Rebound to the left point. Tutt fired deflected right through the crease by Fiore. Parked in front. Puck along the boards. Fiore dug it out right side. His back pass broken up neatly On the defense by Iafredi. He whipped it down ice, reaching up beyond the goal. For the IHL is Brian Tupp. Icing charge against the U.S. The attendance tonight, standing room only, 5,284. 5,284. Standing room only tonight. The capacity of Wing Stadium is 5,138. So we have almost 150 standing tonight. Face-off left of Barron. U.S. goal. Davies and LaFontaine on the face-off. Schreiber, the trigger man, arc of the circle over Davies' left shoulder. Now Falkenberg and Chelios at close quarters. Now we're ready. Waiting for the linesman. Sticks come down. Won by Davies. He tried to direct it to the trigger man Schreiber as he was spilled by Hirsch. Instead, it's controlled by Jensen. At center, Olczyk over the IHL line. Pumped on the defense by McGowan, who's had a strong game tonight. But dug out in the corner by Jensen. Right point for Chelios. Right in front for LaFontaine, and McGowan was there again to break it up. On left wing at center for Davies. Over the U.S. line. Right in front for McGowan. McGowan back to the blue line for Schreiber in the corner for Davies. Davies along the board, stumped by Hirsch. Dug out beyond the goal by LaFontaine. He flew to the blue line. Blocked left point by Harrison. Screen shot right down. Barron the save. And he squeezes it in the midsection with Falkenberg and Chelios jostling each other at the crease behind the netminder. 17:31 left. Third period. 5-4 IHL lead. Face-off, forthcoming right of Barron. U.S. goal. Again, stay tuned for a special edition of the Insurance Service Center Stars of the Game show. We will feature the most valuable player from both teams at center ice right after tonight's action. Rezenzov in the face-off with Sampson, right of Barron. U.S. goal. Won by Sampson. Right wing boards, commandeered by Brook. At center for Verkota. Verkota swoops it after him. Behind the goal after it's get it off his skate. He squeezes the backboards by Moore. But trailing the play is Griffith. Now Griffith wheels left wing circle. Left point for Iafredi. His pass knocked down neatly by McGinnis, who cleared to center. Controlled by Sampson all the way to his own line for Bob Brook. On left wing for Jensen. Now Jensen cross ice for Sampson. Interrupted by Scott Gruel for the IHL. Gruel from center. He fluttered it into the corner. She's down by Brook. Now Bob Brook behind the goal. Around the boards on left wing for Bill Verkota. He just wrapped it to center zone. Now Morin lost it there to Jensen. He hurries in over the IHL line. Right wing circle for Fusco. Left point for Brook. Shot blocked in front beautifully by Morin. Puck along the boards. Dug out by Paul Gay. Swoops in beyond the goal. Working on Rezenzov, who rode him up. Dug out beyond the goal by Verkota. Thumped by Rezenzov. Dug out left wing corner by Brian Tuck for the IHL. He sends it wiggling to the U.S. line. Commandeered on the defense by a backpedaling Iafredi. He just steered it in beyond the IHL goal. Vanilla icing. Tutt controls. Brian Tutt around the boards on left wing for Scott Gruel. At center for Yakachuk. He dashes in over the U.S. line. Wheels to the right wing boards. He steered it in beyond the goals. He was stumped along those boards by Iafredi. Dug out by Gary Haight. Haight in the middle at center for Scott Fusco. On left wing for Iafredi. Cracked by Yakachuk, who lost his stick, but poked to the U.S. line by a trailing. He pressed him. Now Preston really bowled over Fusco to the side of the goal. Covering up for the U.S. is Gary Haight. He lugs it into the straightaway at center. Reaches the IHL line. Centered in front for Gabe. Knocked away by Harrison on right wing at center. Represser of the IHL. He just directs it in the U.S. territory. Tracked out in front of the goal by Pat LaFontaine. At his own line for a circling Paul Gay on left wing at center for Hirsch. He wraps over the IHL line. Wheels right in front. Purloined off his stick by LaCour. Left it for a trailing Kevin Willison at center. He wraps over the U.S. line. Wheels right in front for the core. Shot blocked down the defense by Olczyk. Loose in front, the backhander by Aurelio Esquire. It lands on the back of the net from the carom out the backboards. No further play. Break in the action. IHL All-Stars 5, U.S. Olympic Team 4. This is IHL All-Star Hockey.
Would it be better?
Ticcarelli rejoining you live. Wing Stadium, Kalamazoo. Face-off left of Mark Barron. U.S. goal from the face-off. Claimed in the circle by Jensen. Jensen in the middle at center. For Griffith, thumped by Tutt. Controlled in the IHL zone by McGowan, who's had a strong game on the right defense. Now McGowan on right wing at center for Muskegon. Neil Aurelio. He zooms in over the U.S. line. Drove it in behind the goal. Tracked down by Brook. Brook leads on left wing for Gary Sampson, U.S. away. Sampson thunders to center. Over the U.S. line along the boards. He was given a rough ride by McGowan, who cracked him robustly. Dug out behind the goal by Bernie Gallant. Gallant side of the goal for McGowan, leading to the right wing boards for Neil Aurelio. In front of the goal for Gallant. Back behind the goal for Tutt. U.S. forward checking tenaciously. Now Brian Tutt will start out leading on left wing for Bernie Gallant at his own line. Now Gallant for Flynn in the middle of center. Aurelio is passing an open wing, broken up by Scott Bukestad. He wheels in over the IHL line. He was tripped by Bernie Gallant. And there'll be an IHL penalty to Gallant from the Flint Generals at 5:50. And the U.S. will be presented its fourth power play of the night. And they did capitalize for the first time tonight on their most recent opportunity. It was Corey Millen who connected. And at that time, it closed the IHL lead to 4-3. Bernie Gallant for the IHL, 2 minutes for tripping at 5:50. 14:10 left. Face-off forthcoming deep in IHL territory. Arc of the circle left of Gagnon for the Kalamazoo Wings. Davies and LaFontaine on the face-off. The latter with 2 goals and an assist tonight. One by Davies, claimed in front of the goal by Willison. Right wing circle for Vic Morin, and Morin just hoists it down ice. Barron behind the goal. Swept it around the boards on left wing for Hirsch. Returning it behind the goal for Chelios. Now Chris Chelios, the Montreal draft choice, shadowed by Schreiber. Escapes his check on right wing at center of Pat LaFontaine. He darts in over the IHL line. Thumped on the defense by Willison. Back comes the IHL. Schreiber wraps up the right side at center. Storms in over the U.S. line. Checked along the boards by Hirsch. Commandeered by Davies, though. Davies at the U.S. line, curls back to center zone. He wheels, stroked it in behind the U.S. goal. 1:16 for the power play. Now Chelios glides effortlessly behind the goal of Collective. His long lead at center zone for Ed Olczyk. Traveled 2 lines, U.S. offside. No further play. 13:20 left, third period. 1:10 for the IHL penalty to Bernie Gallant. And the IHL attempting to preserve a very precarious 5-4 lead. Face-off right of Mark Barron in the U.S. goal. It'll be Grant Resens off for the IHL. And Gary Sampson for the U.S. And he won it. Control behind the goal by Bob Brook. U.S. has it. Now Brook will engineer the power play rush. He heads into the straightaway at center, accelerates over the IHL line. Right wing boards for Sampson. He pulls up in the corner. Right point for Brook. Now Brook closes in, right wing circle for Verkota. He wheels right in front with a shot. What a save by Kenya. Rebound in the right wing circle. Sailed down ice by McGinnis for the IHL. 40 seconds for the power play. Now Brook veers in front of his own goal to escape the check of McGinnis. Now Rick running right wing at center for Gary Sampson. He motors in over the IHL line. Right point for Brook. Left point for Jensen, who pours into the circle. Checked from behind by Resenzo, but dug out behind the goal again by Jensen. Second effort. Wheels right wing circle. Left along the boards for Verkota. Side of the goal for Sampson. Sampson centering pass blocked by Tutt to the left wing boards, where Ian McGinnis fires it down ice. 7 seconds remaining in Gallant's penalty. Now Brook in front of his own goal for the U.S. He accelerates up the right side at center with Yakachuk draped over his back. Yakachuk overpowered him, and back comes the IHL. Preston at center, scurries in over the U.S. line, wheels into the corner, pulls up. Right point for McGowan, left point for Willison, and I believe they're ruling that Scott McGowan failed to contain it at the blue line. And that traps all the IHL All-Stars offside. 11:55 left, third period. It's been scoreless in this stanza. IHL All-Stars 5 and the U.S. Olympic Team 4. Bill Inglis and J.P. LeBlanc behind the IHL All-Star bench, continuing to rally their forces, continuing to exhort them in an effort to preserve this lead against this explosive U.S. club. Yakachuk won the faceoff from the blue line. A shot right out. That one almost crawled over the pad of Barron, but he closed the door. Puck in beyond the goal. Controlled by the U.S. Paul Gay. Wheels in the middle of center. He darts in over the line. Right wing circle. Swooped in beyond the goal. Centered it. Left point. Brian Frady. Right point right. Screen shot. Right in front. Gagnon smothers it. No further play as the U.S. team was swarming the goal. That time Gay and Bukestad, Gagnon and McGowan were there to close the door. I'll tell you, Scott McGowan has really had a strong game on the IHL defense tonight. And he, of course, representing the Kalamazoo Wings. Face out left of Gagnon. They have solved Gagnon once. That occurred at 16:49, late in that second period. It'll be Gallant for the IHL. LaFontaine for the U.S. on the faceoff. 11:27 remaining, third period. All ready to go. Now we're waiting. Now Tony Fiore will move in instead for the faceoff. Fiore and LaFontaine. Waiting for the linesman. Sticks come down. LaFontaine won at right point. Chilio fakes the shot. Then fired. Bernardo Gagnon in a screen. Closed the door and scooped it up at the left goal post. Short side. No further play as Pat LaFontaine was really creating an obstruction for Gagnon. And Gagnon really evinced remarkable concentration, powers, and reflexes on that shot. Face out left of Gagnon, IHL goal. LaFontaine and Fiore again. Fiore was victimized by the talented LaFontaine in the last effort. Sticks come down. Won by LaFontaine again. Right point for Chilios again. The shot right out. Oh, Gagnon kicked that away in rapier-like fashion. Puck in beyond the goal. Dug out by Fiore. Leading on left wing for Bernie Gallant. Now Gallant on left wing at center for Fiore. Romps over the U.S. line, and offside was Neil Heriliu. No further play. 11:08 left, third period. IHL All-Stars 5, U.S. Olympic Team 4. And the face-off will have its occurrence outside the U.S. team's blue line. The attendance again tonight, standing room only, overflow throng, 5,284. 5,284. Then the face-off, Tony Fiore from center for the IHL. Swept it in beyond the goal. Digging it out, Jensen. Right wing corner for Bob Brook. Thumped by Fiore. Covering to the right wing boards is Griffith. Now U.S. away. On right wing at center for Sampson. He motors in over the line. Right wing circle for Vercona. Around Harrison. Right in front with a shot. He sailed it through the crease. All the way left wing boards for Jensen. His pass was disrupted by Fiore in front of his own goal for Harrison. Harrison in the middle at center back for Fiore. Broken up by Jensen, who steered into his own zone for Hampson. Now Gary Sampson along the boards, falls, but he nudged it away from the onrushing Neil Heriliu. Left it on the left defense for David Jensen, who fired it down ice. Hurrying to reach it deep on the left wing corner IHL zone, Steve Harrison. U.S. charged with icing, break in the action. IHL 5, U.S. 4. This is All-Star Hockey. To the play, Paul Gay at the blue line, fired wide, rebound out the back, boards, oh, the shot by Bukestad and Gagnon the save, puck into the corner, Fusco tangled with Davies, dug out by Gay, Gay wheels top of the left wing circle, shot, right there, Gagnon squeezes that one and holds. No further play. 9:52 left. Third period. IHL All-Stars 5. U.S. Olympic Team 4. Face out right of Gagnon and the IHL goal. Again, we want to remind you the Insurance Service Center stars of the game, a special All-Star edition tonight. We will feature the most valuable player from both teams. Davies in the face of LaFontaine, right of Gagnon. All ready to go. Sticks come down. One by LaFontaine. Left point for Hirsch. Right point for Chelios. The shot that was blocked by Falkenberg as LaFontaine and Gagnon jostled each other in the crease. The puck all the way to center zone. Hirsch on right wing. Drove it in behind the goal. Dug out by McGowan. His lead pass along the right wing boards for Schreiber. He left it for Rob Davies. Davies in the middle at center for McGowan. Over the line for Schreiber. Right in front with a shot. It was blocked by Hirsch. Davies digs it up behind the goal. Side of the goal for Falkenberg. He couldn't reach it in time. Checked by Chelios. Now Chelios in the middle of center for LaFontaine. Broken up neatly by Falkenberg. He swoops into U.S. territory. Wheels in behind the goal. Left wing boards. Centered it from McGinnis. He wheels right in front to the crease for his ends up. Blocked by Hirsch. Hirsch on the boards. On left wing for the U.S. Forrest Jensen in the middle of center. LaFontaine motoring in over the IHL line. Working on Harrison, who spilled him behind the goal. And from behind the goal, covering up for the IHL as Grant ends up. He swept it down ice. Covering behind the U.S. goal is Chelios. Now Chelios, long lead in the middle of center for Corey Millen. Knocked away neatly by Scott Gruel. Gruel just cleared to the U.S. line. Controlling there is Jensen on the defense. He steered it to the IHL line. Handled by Harrison on the left defense for Kevin Willison. On right wing at center for Ian McGinnis. He just backhanded to the U.S. line. Tracked down there by Brook. Now Brook at center. Over the IHL line. Right wing for Verkota. Along the boards. He was shouldered robustly by Kevin Willison. Now Willison for the IHL in Milwaukee. A long cross-ice lead on right wing at center for McGinnis. And he eludes him to the USA territory. Controlled there by the U.S. on left wing at center zone. Griffith in the middle of the ice for Brook. He romps over the line. Dropped it for Millen. Broken up beautifully by Resenza. Action halted. I believe we have twin minors coming up. There was some fencing going on in front of the U.S. bench. And I believe we have a penalty coming up. I think the U.S. was caught with too many men on the ice. I think that's the call. Dave Fisher, the referee, was right at the U.S. bench, and I think they've been called for having too many men on the ice. They were caught in the middle of a change, and the U.S. team could ill afford that penalty with 7:59 left, and they trail 5-4. Scott Bukestad from the University of Minnesota and a draft choice of the Minnesota North Stars will serve the penalty. Boy, that's a costly penalty for the U.S. From the face-off, IHL could really solidify matters now. They have connected on their only power play opportunity of the night. The time of the penalty, 12:01. Now Tutt storms to center over the U.S. line. Right wing corner for Preston. Preston at the backboards. Left wing corner for Danielle LeCoeur. LeCoeur on the boards. Left it in the corner for Preston. Left wing boards for LeCoeur. Left point for Tutt. Right point for McGowan. Left point for Tutt. Left wing circle for LeCoeur. His centering pass is airborne. Knocked out in front by Iafredi. Controlled by Dave. Rick Watt in his right wing circle for Gary Haight. He drove it high off the glove of Danielle LeCoeur for checking in the IHL territory. Hurrying to retrieve beyond the goal is Brian Tutt, leading on right wing for Scott McGowan. Now McGowan at his own line, skates it deliberately to center, crossing the U.S. line, wheels to the right wing boards, pulls up right wing circle for Yakachuk. He coils along the boards, back to the right point for McGowan. Left point for Willison. Left wing circle with LeCoeur. LeCoeur along the boards. Left point for Willison. Willison was checked neatly by Tim Thomas. Thomas just nudged it to center zone. Recaptured there by LeCoeur on left wing. He hits the U.S. line along the boards for Yakachuk. Yakachuk along the boards. Centered it. That one marshmallowed. It was blocked by Harrington, who whipped it to center. Control by Hariliu. Now Neil Hariliu dropped it off at center zone for Boland. Cross eyes on the left wing for Willison. His pass broken up by Chelios. In the middle at center for Harrington. Check as he reached the IHL line by Gallant. Back comes the IHL. Vic Bourne on right wing at center. Soars in over the U.S. line. Right wing circle with a shot. Bear in the save. Rebound right in front. Oh, Gallant couldn't reach it. Back comes the U.S. instead. Sampson in the middle center for Verkota. Over the IHL line. Right in front. For Sampson, he was spilled neatly, and back comes the IHL. Gallant at center. Drove it in behind the goal. Covering up is Chelios. Penalty is over to the U.S. Chelios deposited back behind the goal for Sampson. Around the boards on right wing For the U.S., Scott Bukestad. He motors to center, hits the IHL line with a shot right on. Stick save Kenya. Rebound to the right defense for Steve Harrison. Harrison motors to center and right wing. He drifts it in a leisurely-like fashion beyond the goal. 5:30 left. Barron out of the goal. Drove it around the boards, over the blue line to center zone. Falkenberg cued it back into U.S. territory. IHL offside. 5:26 left, third period. IHL All-Stars 5, U.S. Olympic Team 4. This is All-Star Hockey. To the play. Schreiber bursts in over the U.S. line. He was chucked in the circle by Hirsch. Back comes the U.S. Chelios in the middle at center for Jensen. Over the IHL line. He stirred it in behind the goal. LaFontaine was giving him up right at the backboards. He lost his helmet as Harrison really disheveled him. Covering behind the goal for the IHL is Davies. Olchek wraps him up and it squirts in front of the goal, but McGowan is there to clear the blue line. Block left point by Hirsch. He's centered in front for Jensen. Checked neatly by Falkenberg, and from the left wing corner, Steve Harrison just rainbows it down ice, reaching it behind the U.S. goal. Tom Hirsch, IHL charged with icing. 4:43 left. Regulation time. IHL All-Stars 5, U.S. Olympic Team 4. We've had a scoreless but very thrilling third period, and this has been an excellent hockey game tonight. 5,284 standing room only. Face-off left of Gagnon, who the IHL has protected in this third period. Gagnon has shut out the Olympic team in this stanza. All ready to go with a face-off, Corey Millen. And Grant Rezenzov, who won it, directs it behind the goal over Brian Tutt. IHL has it. Tutt banked it off the boards. Along the boards on right wing for McGinnis. McGinnis was jammed along the boards by Jensen. No further play. And that'll produce another face-off. Deep in IHL territory. This one will originate arc of the circle right of Gagnon. 4:32 left. 5-4 IHL lead. Crucial face-off again, confronting Peoria centerman Grant Rezenzov against Corey Millen. Sticks come down, Rezenzov won that, and he just drove the puck into U.S. territory. He chases Jensen into the corner there. He jostles him in a mighty mood. It squirms into the circle. McGinnis dug it out. McGinnis coils to the blue line. Left point for Gruel. Shot right on. Barron closed the door short side as Rezenzov was wrapped up in front by Jensen. Back comes the U.S. Wheeling in his own line is Sampson. Rink wide on the right defense for Brook. Back at center for Gary Sampson. He motors in over the line. Along the board. Stopped by Todd. It's airborne in the corner. Corralled there by Yakachuk on left wing at center for Gruel. Wrapping over the U.S. line. He wheels right in front for a streaking Yves Preston, and was knocked back to center zone by Iafredi. From center zone, Brian Tutt rocketed around the backboards. U.S. zone charging in after it is Preston as he bowled over Iafredi, but as Iafredi was going down, he took Preston with him, and back comes the U.S. Bukestad at center. Scott Bukestad over the IHL line. Backhands behind the goal. Scott Fusco to dig it out. At the backboard, checked by Gagnon. Gagnon lost the stick. The puck to the blue line. Back comes the IHL. McCord charges to center over the U.S. line with a shot. That's deflected high into the crowd by Iafredi. No further play. Break to the action. IHL All-Stars 5, U.S. Olympic Team 4. This is All-Star Hockey. Controlled on left wing by Neil Hurley. At center for Gallant. He bursts in over the U.S. line. Right in front for Fiore, and he was checked by Hirsch. Puck along the boards. Dugout right wing corner by Olczyk. Behind the goal for Hirsch. Evading the check of Fiore at the backboards. Slipped it up on right wing for Chelios. In the middle center of Pat LaFontaine. He hits the blue line. Oh, right in front row. Took back for LaFontaine. He couldn't reach it, but he dug it out in the corner. 12 point for Hirsch. Screen shot left. Rebound in front. Olczyk shot. Oh, remarkable save by Canyon, and they smothered at the backboards. No further play. Oh, and Olczyk had a wide open side of the goal on the rebound out the backboards, and George Canyon just extinguished him. Point blank range with some remarkable and dramatic goaltending dynamics and theater. 2:35 left, third period. The IHL trying to cement it. They lead 5-4. This has been a dandy tonight. All ready to go. Davies in the face-off with Sampson. Sampson won it right point. Brook fired. Pat save. Gagnon short side. Dugout right wing boards by Verkota. Verkota for the U.S. steered it in beyond the goal. Gagnon comes out and intercedes. Up on left wing for Falkenberg. He cleared over the blue line to center. Poked back into IHL territory by Jensen. Covering in front of the goal. The late offside is Harrison. Harrison just launches it to the U.S. line. Controlled by Brook on right wing at center for Griffith. He was poked off his stick as he reached the IHL line by Harrison. Harrison on the left defense drove it to an open wing into U.S. territory. 2:02 left. Controlling his Brook at his own line for Verkota. Back in the middle at center of Bob Brook. Dashing in over the IHL line. Along the boards working on Moore, and he pulls up. Left point, Ryan Frady. The shot right on. Gagnon stick save. Rebound to the right wing boards. Controlled by Rob Davies. He steered it up on left wing for Falkenberg at center. That was stopped by Brook. Brook to send it back into IHL territory where Harrison controlled. Rink one on the right defense along the boards for Vic Morin. Now Morin in the middle at center for Razenzov. He darts in over the U.S. line. Centered in front for McGinnis. That was blocked by Fusco. Lost at the blue line to McGinnis. Ian McGinnis wheels right wing circle. Poked off a stick by Jensen. Puck to the side of the goal. Dug out neatly by McGinnis again. He centered it right in front. Blocked by Fusco. U.S. away. Fusco in the middle center for Gay. Stopped by McGowan. 108 left. McGowan over the line for Gruel. He moved right in with a shot. Oh, he fired it wide from the left wing circle. And back comes the U.S. Gay on left wing at center for Fusco over the IHL line with a shot that's wide. Under a minute left. Puck to the blue line. Right point shot by Chelios. Blocked by McGowan. McGowan steered it to center zone. U.S. trying to lift the goaltenders. LaFontaine zooms it over the line. Wheels up with a shot. Great save, Gagnon. Oh, he robbed him point blank range and smothers it, somersaulting in the crease. No further play with Pat LaFontaine lying in the IHL net. Oh, that Pat LaFontaine is exciting. What an exciting, nail-biting, hand-wringing conclusion to this one tonight. The U.S. coach Lou Vero has lifted goaltender Mark Barron for the sixth attacker with 44 seconds left. And the U.S. team has the extra man and the sixth attacker. It'll be LaFontaine, Hirsch, Olczyk. Olczyk with 3 assists tonight. LaFontaine 2 goals and an assist. Jensen, along with Brook. IHL, Yakacek up front with Hariliu and Preston. And on the defense will be Vic Morin and Kevin Willison. We have not seen Mike Boland very much since the opening period. He is seated on the bench, though. He may have incurred a slight injury. Now, U.S. Olympic coach Lou Vero will spend his 32nd timeout with 44 seconds remaining in the third period, regulation time. It's the IHL All-Stars 5 and the U.S. Olympic team 4. Now, J.P. LeBlanc and Bill Inglis in a confab. And there's a lot of intensity etched on the face of Inglis, the IHL coach, as well as his counterpart, Lou Vero. Now these Wings fans here at Wing Stadium are chanting USA. They'd like to see this game end in a tie, and who wouldn't? Lou Vero, we were talking to Lou Vero at the luncheon today, and he told us, he says, well, I'd like to see this game end in a tie tonight. We might see it. Here we go. Face-off left of Gagnon. IHL goal. Yakachuk and LaFontaine. One by LaFontaine, right point. Chelios fired it wide. Puck came in the goal. Olchek dug it out. Side of the goal. Olchek centered it right in front of Skip over the stick of Chelios to the blue line. Neil Aurelio nudged it over the blue line to center zone. Control by Williston. He backhanded to the U.S. line. Half-minute left. Controlled on the left defense by Hirsch in the middle of center for Chelios. Over the line on left wing for LaFontaine. Knocked back to center zone by Morin. And action is halted. I believe the puck may have deflected into the IHL bench on its trajectory with 19 seconds left. This Wings crowd is really in a state of delirium here right now. What a great finish to a great day here in Kalamazoo and the IHL All-Stars against the U.S. Olympic team. This is really a once-in-a-lifetime happening here in Kalamazoo. All ready to go. Net empty. Face-off center zone. 19 seconds left. LaFontaine wanted to center for Chelios. At the U.S. line for Jensen. Checked by Preston. He wrapped it off the boards. Down ice. Hurrying after this old check. He reaches an icing charge against the IHL. 7 seconds remaining. 7 seconds remaining. Stay tuned with the Insurance Service Center. Stars of this game show. We will feature the most valuable players from both teams right after tonight's action. All ready to go. 5,284. And they're not using the backs of their seats now. They've really enjoyed this one here tonight. LaFontaine and Yakachuk on the face-off. Left of Gagnon. IHL goal. U.S. team huddling. Adjacent to the circle, LaFontaine, Bukestad, Chelios, Jensen. Now Sampson over the boards. The late change will be disallowed by referee Dave Fisher. It'll be LaFontaine and Yakachuk. 7 seconds left. Here we go. U.S. playing every man up. Now Olchek will take the face-off against Yakachuk. One by Olchek. Right point for Chelios. Check by Aurelio. He fires it down. Nice goal! Neil Aurelio. And the IHL will win it with 1 second left. 6-4. Outside the blue line, and the IHL will win it with 1 second left. Neil Aurelio into the empty net. Mark Barron returns the face-off of formality, and the IHL All-Stars will defeat the U.S. Olympic team here tonight. And I'll tell you, the IHL All-Stars were in a rouse and really a stimulated aggregation tonight. The puck is dropped, the horn sounds, the game is over, and the IHL All-Stars have defeated the U.S. Olympic team here tonight before a standing room only throng of 5,284 at Wing Stadium, Kalamazoo. George Gagnon preserves the victory from for the Kalamazoo Wings and the All-Stars. Rob Davies scores a goal. Scott Kroll 2 goals and an assist. The final score then tonight, the IHL All-Stars 5, the U.S. Olympic team 4. The two teams, in a very sportsmanlike gesture, shake hands at center ice. Stay tuned with the Insurance Service Center. Stars of the Game show coming up next. This is IHL All-Star Hockey.
this big, important game here tonight. Appreciate your attendance. Here with the program is Terry Ficcarelli.
Thanks, Big Joe. Back at Wing Stadium, Kalamazoo tonight in an excellent hockey game, a very exciting and a very enjoyable one. The IHL All-Stars have defeated the U.S. Olympic team. The final score tonight, the IHL All-Stars 6 and the U.S. Olympic team 4. We're going to salute the most valuable players from both teams tonight. First, from the U.S. Olympic team, their leading scorer. He scored 2 goals and an assist, his 51st and 52nd goals. Number 16, Pat LaFontaine. Getting the old Hampshire book. I'm going to interview you for a couple.